this is one of those topics that not a lot of people like to talk about. It's not cute, it's not sexy. We talk about multifamily. It's not one of those things that you hear a lot of people talk about on podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever. But it is so vitally important to you being able to manage your business effectively, right? So today we're going to be talking all about property management and property management fraud, what it is, how to detect it, most importantly, how to prevent it so that your business runs effectively. There's a lot of glory that goes into buying a deal, but if you buy a deal and it does not perform, your business is doomed. So it's not about just purchasing a deal, high-fiving everybody and giving a bunch of attaboys. You actually want to be able to function, to manage that property and make sure that it is a success. So today, that's what we'll be chatting about. If you are, I didn't even say what's up to my Facebook peeps. What's up, Facebook peeps? Thank y'all for tuning in as well. If you have a pressing question about property management, if you showed up here today and you're like, hey, I really want to know about this, go ahead and drop that in the chat right away so I could try to get that taken care of. This is very much to be interactive, not like a Jason lecture, not the Jason Stubblefield show, but mainly I'm here for you, to support you, to make sure that you can make your business succeed. So to kick things off, we'll do it how we always do it. And that is with a brief intro. So to those who are new, who don't know who I am, my name is Jason Stubblefield. If you're able to see my screen right now, you are looking at the homepage of my website, which is snscapitalpartners.com. That's like Nancy Sam, capitalpartners.com. If you navigate here, you'll find out a little bit more about me, a little bit more about our business, some of the deals that we've done. We've got some investors who invest with us and their testimonials. So if you're brand new to the world, you might want to check that out. Also, if you are someone who is a passive investor and you are looking for opportunities, if you go over to the Invest tab and click that, there'll be a brief form to fill out once you click this join our community tab. And if you click that out, fill out a brief form, what that does is it puts you in our world, right? So we know that you are interested in hearing about the investments. We'll reach out to you, have a conversation, see if what we have, the type of deals that we're doing, meet your investment return projections. And if so, you get put on our list, you hear about our deals. If you're not on the list, you probably don't hear about some, or at least not all of our deals, right? There may be some deals that you hear about and some that you will not. But to make sure that you're in the best place, if you're interested as a passive investor, then yes, you want to go ahead and register there. So, okay, I don't have my co-pilot today, so I'm flying a plane solo, but I'll try to make sure I get everybody approved, and I also check for questions as they come up as well. So let's go ahead and just dig right into this. So let me share my screen here, and we'll start walking through it, right? So very beginning, property management fraud, right? That's what we're talking about today. To just start off, let's understand that property managers will make mistakes, right? They're human. All right, so I know I titled this fraud, and are there any property managers on the call today? I don't know. I'll check, but if there are, don't take it personal. You know what I mean? It's not against anybody, but this is a business where people just make mistakes, right? So some of it is fraudulent, where they're doing it and actually stealing money from you. But also sometimes they're just mistakes. But the goal, what I want everybody on this call to know about is how to view your property and better take care of it so that you can catch the mistakes if it is a mistake. And if it is fraudulent, then you can also catch that too, right? So starting off, we'll talk about what property managers do, right? They're going to handle your accounting, your rent collection, leasing, repairs, maintenance, security deposit, paying your bills, inspections, right? All of those things your property manager is going to do. And the common denominator for that is they manage your money, right? So all the inflows and outflows of your property go through the property management company, and they have hands on all of your dollars. And when you're talking about just making sure that you aren't getting your money stolen, right? You just have to sort of understand that when you show up, even if you're just buying a 10 unit or 5 unit, 10 unit, whatever, man, it could even be a single family house, doesn't matter the size. But oftentimes you can be viewed as a baller, right? Because, hey, I don't, if that person doesn't own properties, they may just assume that, okay, since you are collecting all this money, they see your top line, like they just make the assumption that you've got a lot of money. And with that, there are certain things that you have to put into place to make sure that, hey, you let them know that you're going to be watching and like, no, you aren't necessarily rich. And even if you are, it doesn't mean that you're not a good steward over your investments, right? So let's talk about the primary ways, right? Let's get into it right now. Primary ways that fraud is committed. One of those is unreported income. So how that looks is there's a unit, let's call it unit 205, right? Unit 205 is vacant and the property manager has leased it. However, in the software, it does not show up that way, right? In the software, the unit, I'm sorry, I said that backwards, right? So the unit is actually filled, but in the software, it shows it's vacant. So unit 205 has been rented to a tenant. The property management company shows that it's being vacant and they pocket the security deposit or the rent for that month. So that's one way. Unreported income is a way that you can have money stolen from you. Secondly, we'll talk about phony invoices, right? So how does that look? Let's say unit 205, I'll use that as my example for today. 205, let's say the floors need to be repaired, but in reality they don't, or there's a plumbing leak. In reality it doesn't have a plumbing leak. So you'll get a report saying, hey, we had to do plumbing in this unit and we spent $1,500 on that, but in reality there was never a repair. It was a phony invoice. They got paid to the property management company or the on-site maintenance person or whatever it is, but basically you got invoices that are not valid. Okay, so that's another thing to watch out for. Thirdly, pocketing the discounts. So if you're in unit 205, the property management company could have a situation, right, where they are able to replace HVACs for $4,500, right? They've got a relationship with a company and they say, hey, you send us your business, you manage a lot of properties, you refer us a lot of business. So they're saying instead of normal $5,000 for the HVAC, we'll do it for you, this property manager, because we'll do it to you for $4,500, right? So you get charged $5,000 when in reality, the property management company pocketed that $500 difference, right? So they worked out some sort of kickback and they benefit off of that kickback, but you do not. Okay. Another way is multiple checks, right? So let's say, for instance, check number 100 is reported to you, the owner, saying that that's going to go pay $200 in utilities. And so if you look at that, say, all right, check 100 went to $200 in utilities. But what could happen is check 100 actually goes to the property management company or whoever the leasing agent is, and they charge the exact same amount, but they pay themselves with the check. And then internally into the software, what they'll do is go in and manipulate the check number or the usage of it. So they wrote one check 100 that went to them, and then there's another check 100 that actually went to the utility costs. And so there's no way for you to really catch that unless you're verifying the physical checks that are written against what's coming into your account. That's the only way you'll be able to catch that, because that's a very difficult one to locate. All right, so hopefully you'll think about that and understand that. And let's see, let's get All right. Adding my recipients, I had to do that. I'm flying solo today. So that's one. I'll tell you about another one. This is a personal one of mine, and it basically boils down to incentives, right? So you may have a issue in your property where you say, "Hey, I will pay a property management company," or say, "I'll give you a $100 if you renew a lease," right? But you only get $50 if you place a new tenant, right? So these are incentives for your property management company to renew leases, because the more you keep your property full, the more money you make, right? So we've done this where we incentivized property management company to leave tenants in there or to make renewals, right? And what we found was that the property management company was actually not leasing vacant units because they made more money by leasing a occupied unit. So picture this scenario. You got unit 205 that's occupied, and you've got unit 206 that's vacant. So the property management company knows they'll make more money by putting somebody in 205. So what they do is, instead of filling up the vacant unit, they fill up the one that they make more income on. And then basically you end up with a vacancy that takes longer than what it necessarily should, right? So shuffling tenants around. So how could I say that? Basically manipulating renters. Right. So that's another way that it happens. And if anybody here has any others, like, this is a living document, right? So if you guys have another way, feel free to just sort of share what's happened to you. I can add it to this document and make sure that we're all responsible fiduciary. So all this stuff can happen, right? And you may be thinking like, all right, this is a crazy amount of stuff to sort of look out for. But next, I want to talk about the ways that you can prevent property management fraud. And it's honestly, it's not that hard, but you need to do the following 6 things that I'm going to tell you, right? So you've stuck with me this long. Let me go ahead and give you the ways that you can prevent this and make sure your properties function like they should. So number one, win the property management negotiation, right? It's going to start off when you're talking to a property manager that you're going to have a contract. In that contract, you actually want to read it, because I'm guilty. I'm not a big person in the forums and definitely legal speak or whatever. I hate it, right? You think that I probably should be familiar with it, being in real estate, and that's all the contracts you deal with. But no, I don't enjoy reading the hithertos and hence with all this. Once you say the word hence, I'm sort of tapped out of what's happening anyway. But I force myself to read it just so I can make sure that I'm covered, and you want to be able to do the same thing. So when you get that contract, make sure you understand what they are saying, and if there's anything that is not in your favor, you win that negotiation before you ever award them the contract to manage your property, right? So one of the things that I would include in that is I want to have access to the accounting software. When you right up top, when we interview the property management company, we make sure that they send us a copy of a similar type property. I want to see what your current software looks like. I want to know what software you are using, right? So I can also add to this is conduct proper interviews, right? So in that interview process, we're going to say, show us sample deals. All right, so I want to see your property manager on a similar property to know what your reporting looks like. All right, I shouldn't call that deals. I'll call it reports, right? So give us some sample reports. Then once you see that sample report, you say, okay, they're using RealPage, or they're using Yardi, or OneSite, or whatever it is their accounting software is. You want to make sure that you have access to that. And so by access, you want to make sure, as an owner, will I have login information to the accounting to the accounting software you use. You want to be able to log in. You want to be able to look at invoices. You want to be able to check the checks, right? If they say they spent X amount and they wrote checks, you want to be able to see those check numbers and see the copies of them. Okay. Number four is huge. What I was bold at is you want to have access and control over the bank deposits. This one right here makes everything else almost negligible. If you are working with a valid, a valid, useful property management company, you want to make sure that you tell them, I want everything going in and out of a bank account that I control and or have access to. That way, as we talked about the ways of preventing fraud, right? If you can look at the bank statements, you see that, hey, we spent an additional check that was not reported to me in the software, right? And so you can look at the bank statements to see that. Oftentimes, it's more challenging when you're dealing with smaller properties, because smaller properties usually have smaller property management companies, and some of those companies may want to control the bank account. And so what the way they function, just quickly, they collect all your money, they put it in their account, they pay all your bills, and then they give you what's left, right? I absolutely at all costs will try to avoid that. I've done it, and it's something to do if unless you don't have any other way. It's the only other option. But I would try to avoid that at all costs, right? Because if you do that, you don't know where the check numbers are going. You're basically just looking at their reports, and that's the only thing you have to go off of. So you want your own bank account as well, right? You don't want them having a master bank account that's got 6 properties in it and yours is one of them. You want your own bank account, and access to that account. All right. Number 5, you want to make frequent property visits. All right. This is how you can catch things such as vacant units. You say, hey, I want to see the vacant units. You told me 205 was vacant, but all of a sudden there's a tenant in there now. What happened with that? Okay. So just visiting the property will do so much. If they said, hey, there's a major repair, you're able to go by and visit. You want to look at those major repairs to make sure the work was actually done, that it was necessary. If they replace the HVAC, I want to see that new HVAC. All right, number 6. All right, so number 6 is really holding them accountable and setting the tone. And these are in no particular order, but number 6 happens day one. When you first start working with a property management company, you want to set the tone when it comes to what they can expect from you, the owner. Remember, right? They may think that, hey, you're just a baller, you're rich, right? You own a 50-unit apartment complex, but you want to let them know that you're watching that money. All right. And so you do that by having daily, weekly, or monthly meetings. Now, daily, that's very daily is extreme. That's like they're doing a rehab and you're being basically you're nagging if you're doing daily meetings. But sometimes you have to nag because there's a project and you just want to see that. Usually you're going to stick with the latter 2, which would be the weekly or monthly meetings. And I would never move to monthly meetings until you know that until you know that they're hitting the projections of your numbers. You trust them, and it's basically you got that project to autopilot, right? You can look at the numbers. We've had deals. Well, it's beautiful when you can do monthly meetings, right? But if you get a deal where you're projecting, let's call it $10,000 a month in cash flow to hit your numbers, and you're getting on average 11 to 12,000, you don't have to worry too much about that. You can devote your interest somewhere else and just do monthly meetings. But if not, probably the norm is going to be weekly. How many units did we rent this week? What expenses or repairs did we make? But what you're doing with that is just setting the tone so that they know that you're looking. And part of these meetings is that you want to hold them accountable. So if they say, hey, we spent $500 in unit 205, you want to make sure that when you look at your report and they say, hey, we spent, maybe it was appliances in 205, that you're gonna ask them, okay, well, why, right? We budgeted 450, and those numbers are off. But like if they know that you're watching down to the hundreds or even down to the dollar, it sets a tone to know that they're going to have to that you're going to hold them accountable, and they're going to have to justify everything that they spend. And that's a better way for you to manage the property and them to know that, hey, if we are going to do something fraudulent, we need to do that at somebody else's property and not this one, because this owner will more than likely catch it. All right, so number 7, then let me wrap it up to see if anybody's got questions too. You want to get multiple bids on all the major services. So if someone's coming out of it, they're going to do something over $1,000, over $2,000. I want to see multiple bids on that. This is to avoid what we talked about earlier, where they get the kickbacks. So if you have if they're pocketing some sort of discount, they say, hey, you just want to use Larry's HVAC, and everything is Larry's HVAC, and they never want to give you a bid on somebody else, you may want to check Larry's HVAC, and just that's a red flag that they won't. If Larry's the best guy, they should be able to show you other quotes from other people, and now you understand that Larry truly is the best, right? So, all right, I'll stop it right there. Those are just a few high level things that you can do, and I'm telling you, implementing those things though, if you're able to do that, you're going to have a property manager that becomes part of your team, right? If they aren't, and the majority of them aren't fraudulent, but some of them are, they do a very difficult job, and you have to assist them in understanding how to do that job for your property. So they are the property managers, but you are the manager of the manager. So make sure that you do that, and implementing those things will help you out a lot. So, okay. Any questions? We got a few minutes before I gotta hop out of here. If you want to put something in the Facebook chat, go ahead and do that. If you're on Zoom, you want to unmute yourself, feel free to go for that right now. All right. Wayne, you got something?
Yeah, just real quick. I'm looking at taking over a new property, acquiring a property. It's a little bit remote. Thank you. It's about an hour and a half drive away. When I set up with the new property manager, or with the property manager, am I looking to establish a bank relationship with the bank that they currently use, or am I going to expand my bank's relationship to this new property?
Yeah, good question with that. What I like to do, if they have a banking relationship already, that's fine. You just want your own separate account, whatever is easiest for you to do. So you also want to make their life easy too, right? So if they have a bank and it's not crazy, they can offer all the services that will work for you, I would more than likely open up a bank account with them. But understand, like for me, it depends on what you're buying. But for me, we have certain requirements from the banks. Like we want to be able to do ACHs and pay our investors right out of that bank account. So if it's a bank account that doesn't provide that, well, now there's some sort of objection to us using that bank. But if that bank does everything you needed to do, then I would work with the bank that's easiest for them, since they already have accounts. It'll be easier for that bank to give them access, and also easier on the property management if they got to go in and sign forms on your behalf or whatever. Yep. Cool. But yeah, banking is huge. But once you have access to your account and they're just going in and out of that account, you've got control. You can see everything. So look at the security deposit account. You want to look at obviously the operating account, what's going on there, and just it gives you so much control. And when they know that you can look and see everything that's been spent, that alone will allow them to basically behave in a manner where they know that there can be eyeballs on it. So if you follow those 6 things that we went over, 6 or 7 in today's meeting, and you do all those things, you will recognize your problems and you'll be able to address them, and you'll find that your property management companies will be in support of you and iron out your issues. So cool. Any other questions quickly before we shut it down?
Hey, Jason, is this fraud happens with the big companies as well as the small? I'm trying to find out, is this normal with the big companies or the big properties too?
You got to watch everybody. I mean, it's the thing with the big companies is that some of these things can be done, but they're done in different ways, right? So a bigger company may not necessarily, what would I call it? Just write a check to themselves, right? They're big and they got a reputation, but other things could happen, like $3,000 in training, right? The company says they're doing training, but you're paying for it, right? Or just softwares that don't necessarily make sense for you. So you want to watch no matter if it's a small company or a big company, but the goal is, if you could just have one takeaway, I would say, look at everything that's spent and see if it makes sense, and hold that property manager accountable for it. So if they spent $2,000 on training, why, right? Is that training about my property, or is that just some internal training that your company does and you giving it to me? Did you spend $3,000 on travel? You know what I mean? And now it's getting billed to my company, right? You're staying at the most expensive hotels and eating at the best restaurants and then charging it back to the property. So it happens in various ways, but watch them all. Just make sure that you look at every expense and then have them make a justification on where it's going to. And oftentimes you'll find that you can get those expenses either taken off or at least reduced. So Brianna, yes, I will make sure that you can get a copy of that replay. Cool. So I gotta shut it down today at 11:30. I appreciate you all for hopping in here today. If you're looking to take a multifamily business to the next level, you decided this is what you want some assistance doing that, feel free to reach out to me and see what we can do to help you there. If you're looking for passive investments, snscapitalpartners.com will give you to our website, and you can find passive ways to invest. So thank you all. Have a great weekend, and I will chat with y'all later.